Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk today. This is my first Rotary meeting. It seems like a great group of people. Just remember that if you don't really like what I'm saying. No, I'm just kidding. When I came up, I've obviously done a few PowerPoints here and there in the past, and when I came up, kind of do the rundown, I realized I was going to have to be behind this podium, and I was just getting ready to ask, is it okay if I walk around a little bit? And she said, no, you have to be behind the podium. So I will try my best to stay here, and I also talk a lot with my hands, so we'll see how this all goes. Like Stacy said, 2021 we got started, established in the fall of 2021. Obviously the fall is not a great time to start a landscape business. So at that time I was working at Grobe Systems, and it was all kind of part of the bigger plan. So we just launched what we would call kind of a soft start in 2021. We got a social media presence out, just kind of help spread the word, do some simple marketing and things of that nature. And then April 1st of 2022, we kind of hit the ground running. We, like Stacy said, we are a full service lawn and landscape company. These are just, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but these are just up in the top corner is my wife, Chase. She used to be Chase Francis. I'm sure some of you know who she is from the Findlay area. That's a picture of us in Mexico at a wedding with our son. And like she mentioned, on the other corner there is Bailey, my setter, which is a bird dog. One of my favorite things to do is to go up when I'm not working is to go up into Michigan and grouse and woodcock hunt. So some of you that are familiar with Michigan know that that is a really good close area to be able to go up there and wild bird hunt. Here's our mission, vision, and goals. Obviously, you guys can take a quick look at that. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like Stacy mentioned, we do try to put an emphasis on customer communication. As I was working at Grobe and kind of dealing with contractors as we built our house and things of that nature, I realized that customer communication sometimes was lacking, and especially with contractors. And not all contractors, obviously, but I just felt that it was really important to be able to communicate. We had a builder that built our house, and he was great to work with, and it was a great experience. I would do it all over again with him. That's not, I'm sure people have had nightmares and horror stories of a big project like that, but it just helped me realize the importance of customer communication. And so when we kind of got this whole thing launched, that was one of our goals, was to be able to have great customer communication. So here's just some quick pictures of projects that we've done. Some mulching up in the corner. Those mowing stripes really turned out nice. Maybe some of you guys get excited about stripes, but in the landscape industry, we're always talking about stripes. So moving forward, that picture in the left corner, I don't always smile this time of year, especially with the snow and ice that we've had here lately, but we do snow and ice management, lawn care, spraying, fertilizing, mowing, landscape design, build, and down in the corner is just a couple pictures of an install that we've done. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great. Again, full service lawn and landscape. The before and after picture of the leaves, we'll get to that at the end of the presentation. Down at the bottom was a new service that we offered. We've always done landscape lighting, but in the left corner there, we did holiday lighting this year, and it turned out really nice. That's actually a house in Bluffton that we did that I thought turned out really good. So our team really liked the holiday lighting, and I think it's something that we're definitely going to continue with in the future. So now on to the fun stuff. Well, hopefully you guys think it's fun and get a little bit of interest and enjoyment out of it. This is what we kind of broke down into 5 steps that we thought would be just kind of a 30,000 foot view, something simple that maybe folks could relate to on how to maintain your property or how we maintain some of our clients' properties throughout the season. So we have a spring cleanup, prune, edge, and mulch, lawn treatments, mowing height. I might go a little bit more into just some different things about mowing besides mowing height there, and then leaf removal on the lawn. So if we can take anything away from this, I hope that we can just take that spring is around the corner. So we have a few more weeks, but I was looking ahead into March, and it does look like the temperatures are going to warm up. So hopefully it's here before we know it. So a spring cleanup, what we consider a spring cleanup is just getting out onto the property and taking a look at things that have kind of built up from the fall over the winter and things of that nature. So your branches and things that have came down. We've had wind, ice, a lot more ice this year than in the last couple years. So there's always going to be twigs and branches that are littered across the lawn, in the mulch beds and things like that. So our spring cleanup is just basically getting out and cleaning things up, getting those sticks up, trimming back plants, and cleaning up your existing beds can improve visibility. We leave our grasses up. I don't know if any of you folks have ornamental grasses. We like to leave ours up. They do make a mess. So at this time in the spring is a good time to clean up as all the blades of the grasses have blown all over your yard and into your mulch. Get those cleaned up and then go ahead and get those grasses cut back. I think, I'm not positive, but I think there's a YouTube video floating around that we did of trimming those back with hedge trimmers. You can wrap them up with twine and take a pair of hedge trimmers, and it's a really nice way, quick and easy, to do your grasses. So that's kind of what we consider a spring cleanup, and it also gives you the opportunity just to take a look to see if there's going to be any projects that you're going to need to work on later in the season. So get out there. This is usually in March-ish or so, depending on the weather. Those first couple nice days is a really good time to get out and do that, and then you can kind of do some dreaming. I was talking to you a little bit earlier about that. So it's always nice to get out and just kind of look at things and get things cleaned up and get a plan for what's coming up. This next service that we offer and you folks I'm sure do at your house, is a prune, edge, and mulch. We do this all at once just because we're there. It usually can be done in one visit. Larger properties, it might be 2 days, but most of the time we can get them done in one day with a 2 to 3 man crew. The pruning, you're going to encourage growth, and at that time too, you're going to be able to look at any dead or damaged limbs. Branches can be removed. Edging, we get asked about this a lot. We like to use hand edgers. There are gas-powered edgers. Besides really defining your beds and making them look nice, there is a purpose to it, and it does serve a function, and that is to keep the grass from going into your bed. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where pretty soon you get everything cleaned up and your mulch and your grass come together and you can't really tell what's what. This is going to help with that. And normally ours go down about 4 inches or so. So you're going to go down with a hand edger and edge that out. And then after that's done, the final step that we do is we're going to go ahead and put our mulch in. And when that ledge, for lack of better terms, is created, it's going to help hold your mulch in too. With the mulching, do most people do their mulch every season? I know sometimes we have clients that do it every other year. If you're doing it every year, you might want to pay a little bit of attention to the depth. We have been on properties before and they've said every year we've gotten it done, and we go in and we're looking at like 8 inches of mulch, which is a little bit of overkill. So I'm all for doing mulch every year, but some of the old might need to be raked out first, especially along your trees. We don't want to get into where we're volcano mulching along the trees. It's not good for the tree at all, and sometimes you see that where just year after year it just keeps building up, and then next thing you know, we kind of are looking at a black mulch volcano around the through the tree. So a rule of thumb is just if you were to walk through through a park or a nature preserve, how do you see that tree in nature? And that's what we kind of want to try to emulate in our yard. So although it looks nice, you know, to get a bunch of mulch on there and it keeps the weeds down, and there are some things like that that are really beneficial, at the end of the day, it takes a long time for trees to mature, and we've got to take care of them. And it's hard, you know. I'm going to be 50 this year, and I start thinking, man, if I plant this tree now, what's it going to look like in another, you know, 5 or 10 years? So when you start thinking in terms of that, when it's taken 50, 60, 70 years for these trees to get where they're at, we just have to be mindful of that. All right, lawn treatments and weed control. This is a new service that we're offering this year. Most people probably have a lawn treatment done, and we'll talk a little bit besides the aesthetics of it. Everybody likes their yard to look like the golf course out here, right? I do as well. Mine doesn't. I'm always trying to work hard to keep everybody else's stuff up, but we're getting there. So here's just a couple of highlights on the fertilizing and weed control. Fertilizing, if you're going to do that, you know, there's 4- and 5-step programs. You can go to Lowe's or a local garden center and get set up with something like that. We like to use granular fertilizer. I think it works better, and you're going to get a lot more of absorption into the soil with a granule than a liquid. There are folks that are using liquid fertilizer, and I'm not saying one's better than the other. This is just my opinion and what we have found works best for us. So, but we think that granule is a little bit better. For the weed control, we're going to go ahead and use a liquid, a chemical in a liquid form, and control that. So you can see under the weed control effectively eliminates weeds without harming your lawn. It's going to reduce competition for your turf grass, for the water, the sunlight. So the stuff that you want, your Kentucky bluegrass and your fescues and things of that nature that you're going to want sticking around for a while to make that nice, beautiful, lush lawn. Let's get rid of the weeds so they can thrive and they don't have to compete with that. So it also, at the end there, the pest management, you can kind of see the grubs, the ants. And did anybody have the armyworm issues a few years back? That kind of went through, and that really destroyed a bunch of lawn. So the armyworms can be controlled with chemical and things like that. I hope we don't see that again, because it can be really devastating. But there's always those things along those nature. The grubs, we've dealt with moles from time to time, and I think that has a lot to do with grubs. Moles are going to go where they can get some food. So a lot of times a mole issue in somebody's yard is, if it was looked into a little bit deeper, it's probably could be a grub problem. Okay, mowing height. There's a lot that goes into this, and again, these are just kind of a quick view of some of this stuff. We could take all these separate categories and really go through the weeds with them. I don't want to bore you guys. I nerd out on it quite a bit, but I know not everybody does. So healthier grass, retain moisture, and enhanced aesthetic. So we like to mow high. We do for our clients, and we recommend that everybody does as well. So at the end of the day, your grass is living organism, and you never want to take a big chunk of anything off, plant or grass. So if you picture your grass gets out of control and you've got to get out there and mow it, and you think, man, I'm gonna mow it short. I don't want to have to come out here and do this again. That's the worst thing that you can do. You're taking a blade of grass that might be 4 or 5 inches, and you're gonna set your mower at 2 inches and take over half of it off. You really never want to take more than 1/3 of anything off, whether it's when you're mowing or in your pruning. You just little by little get it under control where you need it to be. Bagging, we get asked a lot about bagging, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. Some people say, well, the grass clippings getting recycled back into the lawn is great. which I would agree with that to some extent. Here in Ohio, we have wet springs and the grass grows like crazy. And if you're just gonna, again, let it get tall and blow all that grass in, pretty soon over time, you're gonna start creating a layer of thatch. And what that thatch is basically dead grass clippings. And that's okay, except for when you go to do your fertilizer and your treatments, it's gonna create a barrier. A little bit of thatch is okay. As it builds up and it gets too thick, you're gonna run into problems. So you might have to look at maybe doing a dethatching or something along those lines with that's going to remove that, and then you're gonna have good soil contact with the fertilizer, and you're gonna be in a little bit better shape moving forward with that. So we do bag. If you had a push mower, if you're mowing your own lawn and you push mowed and you had a bagger on it, I would recommend doing it maybe every other time. Just take the bagger off to mow once a month or something like that with it off. Okay, and finally, we have leaf removal on your lawn. Has anybody heard somebody say, oh, well, leaves are good. They decay and they break down and they're good. They're good on the yard. To some extent. I know there's a lot of properties that we work at here in Findlay that are very wooded. They're in town, but it's like they're built in the woods. And there's too many leaves. If you start getting layers built up on top of each other, and then they get wet, and then we get the snow and things of that nature, it's gonna kill the grass. And there's a couple things that prevents diseases, improves lawn health, and promotes growth. So leaves can harbor mold and fungus. Wet leaves can trap moisture, creating a good breeding ground for mold, as you can imagine. So again, kind of resorting back to what I said about with the bagging, you could get the majority of them off and then mulch some of them up, and that would probably be okay. That would probably be a good thing. But it's just, if we're gonna be talking about the mass amounts of leaves that you see in some of these neighborhoods, if you would just leave them lay, it's gonna really be an issue. So a couple ways you can do it. The leaf blowers work really good to get them to the curb. I know there's a lot of curb pickup spots in Findlay for leaves. We have a machine that sucks them up at the curb, but just try your best to get them off the lawn, off of your turf grass, and somewhere where they're gonna be out of the way to break down. And if there are a few floating around here and there, at the end of the day, it's not gonna be a big deal. So that is our 5 steps